Hey everyone! Welcome back! I am back today with more JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that's right, you know we are here for another week to check out chapters 16 through 20, I think? Yeah, 16 through 20 of Steel Ball Run, you guys. Oh my goodness, we have a very, very big week this week, guys. I know I said that last week, and I was right, but we got another big one. I hope you are ready for intensity, action, drama, stand stuff, gyro stuff, all kinds of stuff. I don't know when I'm going to get to this point where I can like do more than 5 chapters at a time, because so far like 5 chapters at a time has been like so intense. I think because we're just establishing everything, you know. But yeah, we have the main kind of point of this collection of chapters that I did is the Boom Boom family fight, which I think we saw like a tiny little bit of when we left off last time. But there's just so much, like they're literally using that to like do so many other things. So before I get into everything, I do just want to say if you're joining me early today, you know just what that means. It means you are one of my awesome patrons. Thank you so very much. And as always, I'm sending up those big old hugs right through that screen. And if not, still thank you for joining me today. I'm glad you're here. I do hope you'll consider supporting me that way. The link to my Patreon is going to be in that description down below. And if you're joining me on those YouTubes, I really hope you'll hit like and also subscribe for me. That does help me and my channel a whole lot. So thank you in advance for that. Before we really kick things into gear here today, you guys, I have something I want to show you. As you know, I am a big fan of doing the hauls at the beginning of the video. And although I don't think, oh, you know what? I think I have a few more of the little, ooh, I think I have a few more of the little figures. Hang on. Okay, so I had to go and grab these because I got more of the little mystery bag figures. And I just want to show them to you. This is the opening act for what I really want to show you because I have something really cool to show you today. But I did want to show you that I got Abdul in a little mystery bag. He is so cute. And I was so excited because I have Jojo, Kakuin, I think I have Hierophant Green, and Star Platinum out of the Stardust Crusaders line. But just FYI, if you guys are looking for these in like your local stores, like Hot Topic and anywhere that sells those little like mystery bag things, yeah, the Stardust Crusaders ones are like almost gone. Like they're really hard to find. So I was thrilled I found one like mixed in with Part 5 ones. For Part 5, I got very lucky because I got Risotto. And Risotto is he's like one of the like rare exclusive ones that like on the back of the bag, he's like all grayed out with like, ooh, like who could it be? Oh, I thought my picture was falling down, sorry. But yeah, so I got really lucky and I got a rare one. Okay guys, that was the opening act, right? Because what I really want to show you, are you sitting down? Are you comfortable? Do you feel relatively calm? Because what I'm about to show you is going to make you go bonkers. Look at this amazing gyro figure that I got. Can you see him? Here, I'll hold him over here. Isn't he gorgeous? I have no idea if he's in focus right now or not. Because, yeah. But I mean, he is, oh my god, he is so friggin' beautiful. Not just because he's gyro, because obviously, but the figure itself is so detailed. It's one of the, I think it's Medicos. It's a super action statue. And you've seen the Mista that I have from the same line that I got for Christmas. And yeah, so beautiful. Comes with so many accessories. He comes with like 4 balls. He comes with a ton of different like hands for posing and everything. And I don't know if you can tell, but his joints are like super posable. So there's like all different poses you can do on the box. Like he could be like jumping in the air. It could be like, and Mr. Hime had a really good idea. He said you should try to like get like a little, like a horse figure that's to scale that looks like his horse. And I'm like, oh, so genius. That is so genius. So yeah, so next I'm on the lookout for a horse. But isn't he gorgeous though? I finally have a gyro figure. I'm just my first piece of Steel Ball Run merch too. So yeah, guys. All right. Now that that's over, now that took like 5 minutes of our time, but it's worth it, right? Right? Okay, time to get into chapters 16 through 20. First off, I just want to say about last time, those were such good chapters, and I did get thinking about it more and more after the fact, and the more I looked at that picture of where we have the, you know, Marco, the little boy, and he's like looking up and he's in shackles. I'm like, oh, it's just seared into my brain forever. I can't, it's, no, too much, too emotional for it. But yeah, we see like a pair of like legs in that scene, and like the more I looked at it, not only did it look like his outfit a little bit, but it also was like his stance. You know, the way he always like stands, like, I don't, you know, he has like a particular way that he kind of like stands. And then I got even more paranoid, you guys, because I was like, oh my Lord, the person who betrayed the king was a baron. Like they said, like a baron like betrayed, and the little boy was working for a baron. And I'm like, you know who was a baron? Will Zeppeli. So then I was like, oh my God, is he in like the king's guard and he's sent to execute this boy and it's like his family on trial or something? Like it was, so I just like, I ran wild. And we are going to get the answer today, just so you know. Some of you already know, but yes, we're going to get the answer to what the heck is the backstory. And let me tell you, A, I was not disappointed. B, it was not what I expected at all, because it was nothing like that. So all right, guys, let's kick off with chapter 16. We are right in the middle of action-y action right now. Gyro's foot is all messed up. He tells Johnny to get the gun, shoot it at this family. And so Johnny goes to do it, but he goes to shoot and his gun breaks apart. Okay. And the parts start to hit Gyro. Like it's, the gun is, to say the gun is becoming a weapon, it's like the parts of it are becoming a weapon. They figure out that the gun is actually like he's drawing it to him. And even the knife is being pulled to him, to Gyro. Is this starting to sound a little bit familiar? It should, because the first thing I thought was, oh my God, it's like a Mariah magnetism thing. And I was just praying that we got a funny magnetism scene like we did with Abdul and Joseph back in the day. Spoiler alert, we don't. But I was on the right track. I was on the right track, but there's another one that it reminds me even more of. So I'll keep going. Okay, so the Boom Boom family. Oh yeah, I just want to say they're interesting. They have like one sibling. The one sibling we met, he was like the chokey one. He's something. And then there's like another sibling with like red hair who's like, I think, okay, chokey sibling is Andre. Red-haired sibling is LA, and I can't remember the dad's name, but we'll just call him Dad. But LA is kind of like a little bit like like the goofy henchman, you know what I mean. And the dad is just, he is kind of like vile. He's like, he makes this comment about their mom. He's just like really like hassling the kids. Well, and it gets even worse, like you'll see. But you know, I was trying to think of like what vibe it reminded me of, because it's so like vile villain plus goofy henchman kind of vibes. And I was thinking like, oh my God, it reminds me, I don't know how many of you guys watch Futurama out there, but it reminds me of like the mom from Mom Corp and her sons, where like they were like the henchmen and they had like the really kind of like dumb one, and they had like the one who was kind of like on his, he was a little bit like more put together and everything. I think there were 3 and these are only 2, but it's not exactly the same, because this guy is not as classy as Mom. But it's like the same, it's the same relationship. It's like it's the same vibe. So it's like, oh my God. So yeah, so they're interesting, you know, as vets. We don't get to know them super well, like as people, but as like side characters, they're entertaining, I guess. Okay, so yeah, so Johnny figures out that they're controlling iron like risotto. Like risotto. So I was like, oh, I mean, they obviously don't mention risotto, but like I was thinking like, oh my God, that's like risotto. So it is I mean, they are going to do stuff with like magnetic pull, but it's more like, I think, risottos. Sand. And there's also iron and blood. So there's that too. Okay, so Gyro throws a ball at the dad, but it just like shatters. It's so weird because the ball is also made of iron. So Gyro starts to talk about how this is like, this is not normal, like obviously, but like this is unlike anything that even like he has seen. And so we kind of know that we're getting at like a stand. We're getting into stands. So Andre, the Choky brother, I have written down, wakes up and we see his stand. It's like this lizardy looking thing. And so here's the weird thing. Gyro says he sees it for a second and then he doesn't see it. So like, does Gyro have a stand or no? Because like, I know you guys said the balls are not a stand. They're more along the lines of like a hamon or like just something that is a otherworldly technique. Not even otherworldly, but just like a, not something you would see in everyday world, but it's not like a stand either. But he could like see the stand for just a second. So I'm like, what is that about? Okay, so Andre and LA, the siblings, have this moment. Oh my God, yes, they have this moment where they're doing like weird physical, they're just like being siblings. And they're doing like weird physical stuff to be like, look what I can do. And oh, can you do this? I can do this. And Andre does Giorno's ear thing where he like turns his ear, like he like stuffs his ear inside itself. I don't know how you put that, but he does like the Giorno ear thing. And I'm like, oh my God, was that a Jojo reference? So, okay, so Gyro gets out his other steel ball, but when he throws it at a rock to make the rock fly up and hit them. And he's like, cool, so they can control iron, but they can't control rocks. So this dude gets a rock right through him, like takes, that's, yeah, like not donated exactly, but it goes out the other side of him. And Gyro's like, all right, cool, let's get out of here. And that's the end of chapter 16. I'm going to do what I did last time and kind of like go chapter by chapter at the end and tell you what I thought of each one, because really in order for me to give you a good idea of how I liked each chapter, I'm kind of looking at the overall story that you know what I mean? So like, I'm going to do it the same as last time. So chapter 17, okay? So Gyro's foot gets better because they're getting further away, which, so keep in mind, like they don't know anything. They don't know about like stands. They don't know what a stand is. They don't know about range. So like, you know, it's kind of like when we saw Jolene trying to figure out stands for the first time. Like she had to figure out the range, all that stuff on her own. And it's like that. Like they have no clue. Like they didn't have like a Joseph to come in and tell them like, this is called a stand and this is what it does. And they didn't get the exposition that we did. So they're just like, what the fudge is going on? So, all right. So Gyro figures out that when all three of them are together, the attack is really strong and the pull is magnetic, which, yeah, it is. The dad actually, oh my God, the dad. So this is what he does. Okay. This is the dad for you. All right. This is the level that we're working with this man. Okay. He shoots. Remember how I said the kid got, the one Choky brother got like a hole through him from the rock? Like actually put a hole through him. He takes his gun, the dad, shoots the kid through the hole in his body to shoot at Johnny and like get some blood onto Johnny. Or like to try and like just touch him with it. I can't tell if he was like trying to get a little bit of the blood onto him or if he was trying to graze him with the bullet because they, you know, they control. Well, no, I don't think so because the bullets are made of lead. So I think he's just trying to get some of the blood onto him. Just trying to get control of Johnny because Gyro had touched the blood and Johnny is not like under their control yet. So long story short, he's trying to get control of Johnny. Okay, so everyone just craps on this one sibling, LA, like I don't know. I felt the need to note that like everyone's just really just dragging on this one sibling. Okay, so we find out that the plan is to let Mountain Tim go after them, because don't forget, Mountain Tim's out here too. He's still tracking the murderer, which we know now to be the Boom Boom family, because we saw their horseshoes and everything. And the dad's like totally aware. He's like, yeah, he's been tracking us. So we're about to really put the bizarre in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure here, you guys. It's still not the most bizarre thing we've ever seen, but I'm just like, yes, okay. The dad uses a horseshoe because it has iron in it. He like absorbs it into his face and then uses it to change the shape of his face. You heard that right. To look like Johnny. So basically the plan is to frame Johnny. We're trying to lead Mountain Tim, you know, to Johnny and make it look like he was the murderer. And the dad explains that like this whole family was in the cursed desert. So they've mentioned it a couple of times that there's like this cursed place where like people went and then they got strange powers and everything. And so apparently I think that's God. Well, I know it's like but that comes later, so I won't say it now, but yeah, okay. It's kind of like the arrows now. It's how people are getting stands. Okay, where am I? Yes. So, Mount Tim encounters Johnny, Dad Johnny, lassos him, and starts to drag him out of this thorny bush. But the dad starts to cut the rope that he's got on him when he notices that the rope has disembodied fingers crawling down it. So, surprise, surprise, Mount Tim has a stand. And so what he does is he sends his like whole fist down to like punch Johnny, Dad Johnny. So we figure out that like he must have been in the cursed desert because he has like a special ability. They still have not said stand yet, I don't think, at this point. I don't think they have said stand. Like, we know what it is. But I think it's kind of cool because, like, for a brand new reader, you wouldn't know. And so you're just kind of figuring it out along with them. And for the characters, like, they're all just like putting it together. So, all right. So, yeah, so the Boom Boom family's plan was to have the horseshoe touch Mountain Tim, and now that it has, he's like under their iron control thingy. And then the big plan is to get all three of them, like Gyro Johnny, actual Johnny, and Mountain Tim, to be under the control of this magnetic force, be drawn to each other, and like blow up. Like basically explode. Like the force pulls them together and then like pulls them apart. Is the plan. So that is the end of chapter 17. Chapter 18. So we catch up with actual Johnny and Gyro, and they're like trying to get away from the Boom Booms. They're trying to get to the watering hole, and they realize that Mount Tim is following them. And they're like, oh my god, he's gaining like really, really fast. But then Johnny realizes he's not just gaining fast. He's being pulled towards them. So we're like, oh crap, like they got him. So they pull, oh yeah, they put together how Johnny got magnetized, like with the bullet and the blood and everything. They figure out, what does it say? Figure out they're gonna, I meant explode. I wrote explore. No, they're going to explode. So they figure out that they're going to explode if they all get pulled together. So they're trying to get Mountain Tim's attention. And Gyro throws a ball, and Johnny's like, no, that's not going to work. It's just going to get pulled back to you. And Gyro's like, no, it's good. Because before it gets pulled back to me, it's going to knock him off his horse. Just like, that's just the kind of thing Gyro would do. Like, I just love it. And so the ball, I think he throws, yeah. Does he throw two? I don't know. I don't have it written down here, but he throws a ball and it kicks up like dust and rocks and stuff. And it does damage to all of them because there's a little bit of iron in like the dust and rocks. So like they all take like little splinters of crap in the face. So it does knock him off his horse. I gotta think this whole time, they don't say it, but considering how Gyro just went off about Mountain Tim's hat last time, I gotta think there's just a little bit of satisfaction in like knocking him off his horse. Clearly we have no like ill intentions towards one another, but like just the way he went off about the hat, I gotta think that maybe he was real upset about the hat. I don't know. I'm surprised he didn't try to knock his hat off. Okay, so Mountain Tim is off the horse, but it's too late. They're too close together, and they start to like explode because they're just being like drawn to each other, and this explosion is about to take place. Like they're literally going to be torn apart. So Mountain Tim, so we saw the hand going down the rope, right? He starts disassembling his body. He lassos around a peak nearby and starts disassembling his body and sending it up the rope to get away from them. So I'm like, I have written down here, it's kind, for me, honestly, to me, it reminds me the most of Sticky Fingers. It's not anything like Sticky Fingers, and that it does not involve a zipper or anything like that, but it reminds me of the way that like Bruno took himself apart, and like literally unzipped his whole body and like did the thing with his heart and everything. I mean, we didn't get that extreme in the scene with Mountain Tim, but you know, the disassembling and everything also reminds me a little bit of Diver Down, because that's literally like what Diver Down did. It like, the whole thing was like kind of a disassembling and reassembling in anywhere. You could do it inside someone's body. You could do it in a wall. You could do it in, so yeah, so that is, but it's different too. Like none of these work exactly the same way. And they all kind of have like different, although they're similar enough, they have like different uses. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think you get it. Because you remember those other stands and like, you know, it's not the same. Okay, so, yeah, Mountain Tim puts together, okay, Johnny's not the one who's doing this. He's not my target. And the dad is like, oh my God, we have to cut that rope. Because if Mountain Tim gets away, A, he's going to come after them. B, the two of them, like they explain, like the magnetic force isn't enough for Johnny and Gyro to like pull each other apart, but you add in a third person and now they're gonna like explode. So they really, really need Mountain Tim not on that rope. So that is the end of chapter 18. So here's where 19 and 20 is where we start to get, I hate to say the meat of the story, because this whole thing is meaty. Like we're not doing meatless anymore on the show. Not that we ever really did, but like we're not doing a lot of action-y action with without something really important sprinkled in. Like anytime we do action-y action so far in Steel Ball Run, we're kind of telling you something important too. Like a lot of the point of this fight, of the whole Boom Boom fight, is to kind of show our characters what a stand is, how it works, get more into this whole cursed desert thing, because we are about to like really get into that. So it's kind of interesting. Like we've been doing just, and honestly the action is really good, and we're actually about to come up on a scene that I was like quivering in bad reading, because I'm like, oh my God, this is so intense. It's so good. This one scene coming up, I will tell you which one it is. Is it a 19 or 20? Oh, it's a 19. Oh, it's coming right up. Oh, I was thinking to myself, this scene was made to be animated. When this gets animated with the pacing, the music, the everything. Buffy, honey, no. She's barking. No, Buff. Not now. She's barking. It's going to be so phenomenal. Like, I was getting so, like, excited just sitting there reading it, like, animate this already. Okay. Yeah, Buffy's very excited. Buffy's like, but that was Buffy saying hashtag Steel Ball Run. Announce Steel Ball Run, confirm Steel Ball Run, animate Steel Ball Run. I speak dog, so yeah, that's right. All right, so chapter 19. They explain to Mountain Tim that it's been the Boom Boom family doing this. Gyro wants to know what the heck Mountain Tim's ability is all about. Because, again, don't forget, Gyro and Johnny are like, huh? So Mountain Tim is like, well, what about your steel balls? Like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's just my technique. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, I'm still, at this point, we still don't really know anything about the steel balls. I'm still not really sure, like, where, like, why he could see a stand and everything, but I'm probably just, like, overthinking that. So Mountain Tim starts to explain the story of how he got a stand. He was 16. He was in an army unit that was in this cursed desert that is known as the Devil's Palm. The whole place is, like, wonky. Like, time works differently there. Like, all this time will pass in, like, a short amount of time. And, like, it's just, like, this other dimensional kind of, like, spooky... weird place. It's I guess you could say it's a little bizarre. Okay, so here's what's interesting, okay? And this is why I said, like, this is our new arrows. A shooting star crashed and wrecked this entire site. Do you guys remember that whole thing of part 5 with, like, the meteor and the arrows? You remember all that? Like, could the shooting star be something like a meteor? And this is like, because I know, like, this is supposed to be their version of what gives stands. I don't know if we're going to have anyone who's, like, naturally born with a stand. We haven't yet. Everyone we've encountered to this point. Well, but here's the thing, though. Poco Loco, I don't think was in this. Did they say that he was in a desert? I don't think they said he was in a desert. I think his just manifested when he needed it, unless they're going to explain that he too was in the desert. I don't remember them. If you remember them saying he was in a desert, then let me know. Because they may have said that, and I just, like, I wouldn't think anything of it, because I'm like, yeah, what does a desert have to do with anything? Like, okay. So maybe he was, like, at least born with the potential, and then it just, like, manifested when he needed it. I have no idea. Somebody clear that up for me. Okay, so Mountain Tim almost died, but he was able to get water from a small amount from some dew that collected on his rope, because he, like, absorbed the rope. He fused with the rope, and he was able to get the water that way, so he didn't, like, totally dehydrate and die. Okay, so Mountain Tim explains that Devil's Palm awakens abilities. The notes are, like, real unhinged right now, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to, like, read what I said. He explains that it awakens abilities in people called a stand. And that, I think, is the first mention we actually have of, like, calling it a stand. I'm pretty sure that this is the first mention, and they're just like, what? A stand? What is that? Which is kind of funny, because, like, when we have Joseph explaining stands in part 3, he's like, he and Abdul, I forget which one says it exactly, but if it's him or Abdul, but they're explaining, like, yeah, it's called stand because it, like, stands next to you. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because Star Platinum was there and Magician's Red was there, and they were standing right there. The funny thing is, so far, well, we saw Poco Locos and we saw Choky Brother. Andre? Yeah. I don't know what that was. And they did have, like, the sand took a shape of a, not a person or human, but, like, it took a shape of, like, a creature, I guess. But so far, like, a lot of them have just been, like, you know, we haven't really seen, like a stand, like, standing next to them. You know what I mean? Like, Mountain Tim, we haven't seen that. Mrs. Robinson, I don't think we did. Did we? No, I don't think we did. Mrs. Robinson just did the whole, like, eye and the insect thing. And the needles. Oh, by the way, someone pointed out to me the cactus needles, Mrs. Robinson's cactus needles, were an homage to the part in part 2 where Joseph meets that soldier out in, like, I think he had, like, had he just gotten to Mexico? Yeah. And remember the thing with the cactus needles that he does? And I'm like, how did I not comprehend that? Because I literally, Buffy, no baby, I literally just rewatched part 2 in the dub, like, a few weeks ago. I just, like, binged the entire thing. I was getting ready for a craft fair, and I'm like, yeah, sure. However many episodes this is in like 48 hours, yeah, why not? And so that was just, I just thought that was cool. I thought I'd point that out. But yeah, like, they're not like really, a lot of the stands aren't really standing next to us. But then again, like, Joseph was the one who explained that, I think, and Hermit Purple doesn't really have like a figural stand either, which is too bad, because I would have loved to have seen what, like, I would have loved to have seen what that looked like. But I love Hermit Purple too, so. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, he was able to get water because he fused with the rope. Devil's Palm, he calls it a stand. Okay, so it's around this time that LA, the redhead sibling, sneaks up, and the whole family is approaching, and they're attacking. So Gyro goes to throw a ball, but this like iron sand appears. And then the lizard thing, which is Andre's sand, gets up. I don't think they've been naming the stands. Like, you guys have been nice enough to like send me the stats when I encounter a new stand. I don't think they're really giving them names in the book at this point, unless I'm totally missing it. But yeah, lizard stand, Andre's stand, attacks them, and then they get tied up in like this iron sand. And the iron sand can like make shapes. It's like a really fancy like kinetic sand kind of, I guess. So they use it on Mount Tim, and his rope gets cut, just like what they were trying to do. So he's flying back towards Gyro and Johnny, and they're about to explode. Super intense scene. This is the one I told you about, you guys. This was made to be animated. Change my mind. Actually don't, because you can't. So Gyro is telling Johnny, he's like, because Gyro can't, if they're tied up. Like, he's tied up, he can't do anything. And he tells Johnny, he's like, you have to do the spin that I showed you. There's a bullet on the ground. Get it, like, use it. And he's like, come on, you gotta do this. You're the only one who can do it. So they're flying together. There's blood. They're starting to explode. It's so nasty. And Johnny's like, he's saying like, I can't, but then he's like also he's determined. He's like, I've got to do this. I'm here to learn how to do this spin thing. This is why I signed up. And so it's just a super intense moment where it's just like a do or die. And they're like, come on, Johnny, come on. And he's like, I can't do it, but I got to do it. It's just, it's so good. Like, I can just picture it. I can picture it with the animation and the music. It's just, mwah, mwah. It's going to be so good. He does it for like a second. And he's like, oh my God, I did it. And then the dad steps on his wrist. And I'm like, this dad is not making a super great impression on me. So LA's like, the sibling is like, Dad, look at his hand. And all we see is like the ground below his hand looks like it's spinning. And his fingertips have like, I think it's actually his nails, but it looked like his fingertips at first. They've turned into like spinning nebula disc energy things. Like, it's like having a nebulous energy circular saw on each nail. It was really, really freaky. So he actually takes the dad's leg off with these things. And it's got to be like, they're like little saws. They're like little energy spinning saw thingies. I mean, that's all I could think of to call them. And so the dad is down. The dad is down. The kids are freaking out. And that is the end of chapter 19, you guys. So Johnny... So my first thought was he's getting a sand. But then he was doing like the spinning. So I was kind of like, let me wait and see. Because maybe this is like a form of the spin. But I'm like, I don't think so. Because I've never seen Gyro do anything like that. So chapter 20. Let's get... Chapter 20 is... Chapter 20 blew my mind. Like, And you know what? I actually decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, like, I'm not going to read beyond here. Because I think this is the perfect place to cap off the chapters for this week. So LA attacks, but Johnny uses the nail spinny saw things on LA too, and then the leg is just slice and dice. I mean, and Johnny has no idea how he's doing this, by the way. Johnny is not like, he's not like, yeah, do this, take this. Then he's just like, ah. He has no idea. And he's just like in the air and he's like, I jumped. What did I do? Like, how am I jumping? Like, my legs are not functioning. Like, how did I jump? Like, he is so confused. He's as confused. He's more confused than any of us because we know he's probably got to stand. So Johnny goes to Gyro and he's like, what was that? And Gyro's like, I've never seen anything like that. That was rotation. Technically, that was a form of it, but like, that's not what Gyro's doing. Like, he does not know that. So Mountain Tim is like, oh my God, you know what? We are in the devil's palm right now and we didn't realize it. And Johnny just got his stand. So Johnny got a stand. I'm like, okay, guys, this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and he is our JoJo. He's got to get a stand, right? Like, that's just a given. So I don't know how the steel balls played into it. I mean, I know they did because his stand is like a spinning one. There's spinning involved. So I don't know if maybe he like, I don't know how you could like combine. I don't know if you can combine. I don't know. I would not be surprised if there were some new rules for stands in this new universe. Honestly, because we already are changing around like some of the origins of, at least that we know of the stand and everything. Like in our original universe, it was the arrows, and here it's like the desert. Okay, so Mountain Tim, yeah, he says they're in the devil's palm. And they're like, oh, let's just get out of here. The Boom Booms are like freaking out. And they're like, we got to get out of here. They're never going to survive out here. Like, they don't have water. They're all hurt. They're done for. And so LA is like screaming at them as they leave and says that they're not the only ones after Gyro. And actually says, why don't you ask that person from your country? And I'm like, what the heck did you say? What do you mean? What do you know about, what are you saying? What do you mean? So they go on to say that there's a $200,000 bounty on Gyro's head. And so this is where I'm like, what the fudge? Like, what is, okay. Like, I get that, like, I'm pretty sure he was supposed to execute the little boy. And he's going to bat for him. But I don't know why somebody would, why is there a bounty on him for that? Like, why? I mean, I can try and piece together and think of some reasons, but, so Johnny is like, what is going on? Who are you? You need to give me an answer. Gyro's like, don't worry about it. It's none of your business. And he's like, no, you need to give me an answer. Like, who's the little boy? Like, what's going on? Like, yeah, can't blame him. Can't blame him. Roll the backstory, you guys. And this, if we were getting into the meat and potatoes of everything with the chapters leading up to this is the cherry on top. Deluxe souffle dessert that we have all been waiting for, because this chapter, it answers so many questions, and okay, let's get into it. Okay, so we see back in the day, little Gyro and his whole family, his father had business with the king's servants every month. They start explaining to us, and the servant would always like ask Gyro how old he is, which, you know, doesn't seem really suspicious at first, like really strange, but there is a reason for it. Tiny Gyro's so cute, and I can't help but notice that in the first flashback, he's 9, so he's the same age as Marco, the little boy that we're trying to save. You can't tell me that's a coincidence. So, the dad starts trying to train him with a steel ball. So, like, clearly this is, you know, it's not something that Gyro himself invented. And little Gyro tries to be tricky at first. Like, he knocks over these books as a diversion, and he goes up to his dad's hand and, like, bites it, trying to get the, and I'm like, you a feral little beast, aren't you? And the dad's like, no, that is not the way. Like, I meant you have to use rotation. And so the dad starts to explain that the whole Zeppeli line has been doing this throughout the ages. And the dad takes him with him when he's 13. He decides to take him with him to work. And he says this really beautiful line. They start out the flashback this way too. I don't know. I love this line. It's so good. And the dad says this to him, that every man needs a map in his heart to ride across the wilderness. And I just think that's really profound. Like, I need that cross stitch on a pillow or something like that. It's really, really pretty. So he starts explaining, like, you know, you have to, like, protect the family. Your happiness is your family. And, like, protecting the family means protecting the country. Like, if you don't uphold the family, you're scorning your ancestors. And it kind of started to remind me a little bit of, you know, it's not verbatim what they were saying, but it reminds me of things that, like, they brought up when they were talking about Caesar and his past and his background with his family and everything in part 2, where, like, you know, family was just, like, everything, and, like, you wouldn't want to dishonor your ancestors and, like, all this different stuff. So I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, so all the Zeppelis in every universe just like, this is a big deal. Family is a big deal. And so I have to point out that, like, Gyro, 13-year-old Gyro and all this is just, like, they actually show him and he's just like, huh? He's just like, okay, whatever you say. Just like, of course, like a 13-year-old boy hearing all of this, like, philosophical, like, life-changing stuff is just going to be like, huh? Okay, so the dad's like, yeah, so you're my assistant now. And they get to work. Oh, they mentioned, by the way, that they mentioned, like, at the beginning that the dad is a doctor. And I'm like, okay, this seems awfully kind of shady for a doctor, but okay. So he goes to work with his dad, and the dad, like, somebody comes out immediately and was like, oh my God, you got to come to the courtyard. We got somebody freaking out. The dad is like, cool, be right there. Puts on an executioner's mask. And I'm like, oh no, that ain't like no doctor I've ever seen. I ain't never seen a doctor do anything like this before, you guys. And I don't claim to be an expert in the medical field, but I'm pretty sure that's not a doctor. So they get to this person. The person is freaking out, saying like, no, help, I don't want to die, blah, blah, blah. So the dad, like, puts a ball on him to try and calm him down, takes out his sword, and executes him. Yes. And tells Gyro, like, here, your job is to clean it. And Gyro's just like, starts explaining that this is their family duty. It's been passed down for 380 years. You know, the way of the executioner was to, like, find the way to deal the most efficient, swift death with, like, one blow. Like, you should never have to go back in twice. Like, just for efficiency, for upholding your honor, and I guess also just for, like, trying to be merciful, I guess. And so he wasn't totally lying about being a doctor, because they did say that they had to study medicine and martial arts in order to do this. And they ended up, the Zeppelis developed the steel ball as a way of kind of regulating the body and kind of the mind too, I guess. Like bringing them peace, not pain, was the line used in the manga. So we got the answer to who is Gyro, where does he come from, which, by the way, somebody pointed out to me that literally in the panel where I was saying, like, I don't know, they said he was from Europe, but they didn't say where. They actually do have, right in that panel, it says that he came over from Italy. So I'm like, I mean, I knew that, we all knew that, but, like, I just totally, like, glossed over the sentence, so sorry about that. But if we were all wondering, how did Gyro get here? Where is he really, like, from? What was he doing? What is this all about? Where do the balls come from? Like, what is happening? This is the answer. He comes from a long line of executioners who developed the steel balls as a way to efficiently and mercifully kill people who were sentenced to death. Wow. I mean, it's kind of cool in a way. It's like, you know, if you're going to be executed, you want to, it reminds me, the first thing I thought, I was thinking back to the Tarkus and Bluford story from part 1, where they were talking about how they like, they were just so full of hate that they had to like keep cutting through it. Like, oh, this line of Zeppelis would never, they would have thrown a steel ball on that, and they would have been like, done. We're not doing this. We're not hacking through it. It's not, no. One and done. One and done. Too bad they weren't there. I don't know if the timing on that works out, by the way. I cannot remember what what period the whole story with Mary and Elizabeth was in, but compared to whenever the Zeppelis would have started. So anyway, so we end on, yeah, so when Gyro was, like, he was set to inherit this whole position from the family line, from his dad, when he was 25, until he met Marco, the little boy who shined shoes, clean shoes, for the traitor family who was sentenced to death. Finn, chapter 20. When I tell you I laid there in bed reading this, like, that, I was just like, I just had to take a breath. I was like, I knew I had just been through an experience, you know? That chapter was so good. I'm like, that is a perfect place to end. So yeah, guys, so now I'm going to give you like, okay, there's 16 through 20. What did I think? So, all right, chapter 16 was really good. Again, like the first couple of chapters here, really action-y action. It's really fun because we get to see everyone like figuring out, or at least like Johnny and Gyro figuring out what the fudge is to stand. And like, I think there's so many aspects of JoJo's where like, we really don't know what's going on. And we're kind of watching like one of our main characters put it together, and they're like ahead of us. They're like, oh, I see how it works now. And they go to do something cool, and we're like, wait, what, how is it? Tell me how it works. And this is like one of those times where it's like flipped. It's like, I know what a stand is. You know what a stand is. We know how it works. And Johnny and Gyro are like, what is happening? So, you know, the fight is good. The Boom Boom family is... There's something. It's a cool power. It's like I said, it reminds me of a combination of, I mean, it does have like the magnetic pull like Mariah, but it's almost more like Risotto's. It's almost more like Metallica. And the family themselves are, you know, they're entertaining enough. I gotta say, they're something with their dynamic. And we have a lot of cool things in there, like Gyro getting to, like, you know, he kicks the rock up through the guy and everything, and the banter between the family and everything. Mountain Tim, we get to see his stand. Like I said, his stand also kind of reminds me of a couple of other ones, like Sticky Fingers and Diver Down, but like it's its own thing too, and the way it works is really cool because it's a good reflection of him because he's always doing it with the rope, with the lasso, and we know that like we saw from like the very beginning he's really good with the lasso, and he's got like the cool like cowboy vibe, you know what I mean? Like he's like assistant to the sheriff right now, and he's like, I don't know, it really works with him, with his personality, and I'm liking him so far. He's definitely, if he was supposed to be this universe's whole horse, like there is zero of like the incompetence or goofiness. But yeah, but he's cool. And so that was, I think I was talking about chapter 17 just there. And so where is it that they start talking about how the devil's palm and everything? I think that's chapter 19. So basically what we're getting to see throughout chapters like 16, 17, 18 is like them trying to figure out stands, us getting to see the reveal of Mountain Tim's stand and how it works and how cool it is. Also getting to see like the Boom Boom's different stands and everything. Like the dad can like change his face shape with using iron, which is wild. And then we have like, I think it was LA who had like the iron sands. And we have, of course, Andre with the lizardy thing. So I mean, they're like interesting enough to see, and it's kind of cool how they all like, they're almost like sort of work very like cohesively. Like they bicker a lot as a family, and sometimes you're like, I don't even really think they like each other, but like they kind of work together well as a team most of the time. They rip on that one on LA an awful lot, but you know. So yeah, so it's just kind of interesting to get to see like, okay, well this is us figuring out stands. Chapter 19, getting to learn about Devil's Palm and everything is super interesting. I think it's really cool that Araki decided to have another element that would sort of like grant a stand, but it's so different from the arrows. Like it's not like we went, oh, okay, instead of an arrow this time, it's gonna be like a silver bullet, you know, like it's just gonna be another thing that like hits you and gives you a stand. I mean, it's a totally different thing. It's like this otherworldly kind of environment. It almost feels very like it's a little bit supernatural. I don't know, like I've been rewatching the X-Files at night, and it feels very like X-Files. Like there's this like place that like where time doesn't work right, and like it's very like spooky and kind of like out of this world, you know. So yeah, so I like that a lot. I liked getting to know about it. I'm very, very interested in the fact that like it was a shooting star that did this, and I'm like, I think that's kind of like the meteorites with the arrows. I see what you're doing there, Araki. So that was cool. And then of course, chapter 19, we get to see Johnny's stand. So is his stand going to be like finger saws? Does he have like is that, or is it going to develop more? Like, did we just see like the tip of the iceberg? I don't know. But, oh yeah, so you know what? Gyro could see that too. So Gyro can see stands? Then he must have a stand, right? Or maybe, you know what, guys? Maybe not. Maybe we're not doing that this time. Like, maybe I'm bringing old universe rules to the new universe. Maybe that's not, I don't know. I guess we'll just wait and see. I'm sitting here saying like, oh, we know everything that's going on, and like, you know, they don't know and they're figuring it out. I'm like, maybe I don't know everything that's going on. Maybe we're going to change the rules a little bit this time around. I don't know. So yeah, so that was so good. That whole scene, like I will say it again, was just made to be animated. Was so good. It was so intense. I really feel like it was just made to be seen with music around it and the pacing of like the build up and everything that a visual medium could give it. So that was really, really cool. And of course, chapter 20, getting to see more of I mean, we really didn't see any of his backstory before. But we kind of could put together a few things from like, I mean, I guess if you were reading too much into that one panel like I did, which by the way, I was right. I was so right. That was him. And I just want to pat myself on the back because it never it just so rarely happens that I can put something like that together by myself without anyone pointing it out. Just like my own brain doing its work. And I'm very proud of myself for that. But yeah, we get to really see his backstory, and I love that it's so different. Like, it has elements of like the Zeppelis that we knew, which is really cool because we know that like in the original universe, you know, there was kind of this, you know, Hamon was passed down the family line, and this like, you know, going after the masks and then eventually the Pillarmen and everything. Like, that was sort of like their I didn't go back that far, but you know, I can see the similarities, but it's just like so different in its own thing. I just really give Araki credit for, you know, like he really did reinvent the wheel here. Like, there's definitely similarities to our old universe, but I mean, he really went out and did something totally new with it. And I just think that is so cool. And I love the origin of the seal balls and the, the executioner thing. I was just like, because I was like, I knew it from the other panel. I'm like, I think he was sent to, I think he was, but I just figured he was like in the king's, he was like one of the king's men or something. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think they were going to go into all that. Like, that is wild. And you start out, there's all the stuff I didn't get to mention too. Like, if you read through, I think it'll be in one of the panels I put on the screen. They're like, oh, and the mom would always make this dinner consisting of the same thing. Anytime that, you know, this king servant business came around, and like, it was this very somber thing. And I'm like, there's no way this guy is a doctor, right? Like, I think we could just agree, like, there's no way this guy's just a regular doctor. Like, that's not happening. But I did not expect, and you know, maybe he was like, it's possible if you have to study medicine to do it. Well, they studied medicine and martial arts to develop the steel balls. I don't know if you have to study medicine in order to use them, but like, it's possible maybe the dad was like a doctor in his 9 to 5. And then he just went and did this when, because, you know, it's not like they're like executing people every day. I mean, I don't think. Maybe they are. I don't know. So maybe that he was like a doctor as well. I don't know. Or maybe they were just completely bold-faced lying about it. Because, you know, saying like, Papa's an executioner doesn't have the same ring to like, and he was the oldest. So like, of course, you know, they have like a couple of other kids who are tiny that like, they probably don't want to mention that too. So it's great to see Gyro at all different ages too, by the way. He's so cute when he was little. I love that he's just still him too. Like, that just cracked me up so hard that like the dad's just giving this beautiful, lofty explanation about the importance of family and everything. And he's just like, So yeah, guys, it was great. I really enjoyed these chapters. I was blown away last week, but I just didn't even know how much better it was going to get. I think this week was, I maybe even liked it even better because we really started to get stuff with the stands, with explaining the origins of them, with seeing Johnny get his, with getting a full backstory on Gyro, and I can't even imagine what lies ahead. I'm so excited for it. So yeah, so if you need me, I will be staring at my gorgeous new figure, probably simping, and definitely simping. And reading the next, I don't know, however many chapters I'm going to do. I don't know. You'll see it on the schedule. But yeah, guys, I love this. It's so good so far. And I'm not, like, we're not even into, like, the main villain yet, you guys. Like, we're not even, like, into it yet. And it's already so friggin' good. I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm really, really glad I did this. And, you know, I am excited for when the anime comes out, too. And although, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it would have been cool if I could have like seen that. That was like my first time seeing any of it. It's like, I'm getting so pumped for it now, just like reading through and being like, oh, when this is animated, it's gonna be so flipping good. So even though I'll know it's gonna happen, it's going to be like an experience, you know? It's gonna be like the difference between like, you know, reading a story you love and then like seeing it on the big screen. You know, it won't be on a big screen, it'll be on my screen, but like, you know, it's just like there's something about it. The medium hits different. It really does. And like if the manga's hitting me this hard, seeing it animated, I'm gonna lose it. Like it's gonna be so flipping good. So all right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. I've been going for about an hour now. Oh my goodness, I'm looking at the time on my camera. I just get lost. It's like you know what? It's like the devil's palm. It's like time has no meaning here, and it just like oh man, maybe I'll get my sand now. I put a lot of thought into what my sand will be, but that's for next time because I do have to wrap it up. All right, you guys. I hope you enjoyed listening along with reading kind of along with me with screenshots on the screen. Please be sure to join me for the next however many chapters, and we will read it. I still don't know if I decided on what I want to say at the end here. We will read it together. Bye for now, guys.